We're back with another episode of Let's Undress. Tonight, we're undressing manifestation and celibacy with Luke. See you then. All right, so tonight, this is episode 2 of Let's Undress podcast. And I was trying something on StreamYard. So that's the reason for the delay. I actually thought that I was live, but apparently I haven't really figured out StreamYard like I thought I did. Okay, so just vulnerable moment. All right, but one monkey does not stop no show. All right, that's not the first hiccup tonight. So we're just gonna get over these hurdles. Okay, we're gonna just keep on. We're a gazelle. All right, we're a gazelle. All right, so I'm not going to let one monkey or even 2 monkeys stop the show. I'll definitely figure out StreamYard another time because I really thought that I had it together. I thought I had it together. I had the background together. Okay. I had the banner together. All right. So anybody out there, all my podcasters that are out there, if you are using StreamYard, help your girl out. I need help, okay? And I'm not afraid to ask for help, all right? So if you know how to work StreamYard and you have awareness or at least some knowledge about how to get it to connect to Facebook for the live, then I need that. Okay, I need that piece of info because as of right now, it looks like it's only streaming to my YouTube and that's it. So, okay, we're gonna get into it. So thank you to everybody who's hopped on. All right. Thank y'all for showing up. Okay. This is episode 2 of Let's Undress. And I couldn't be more grateful that you guys are showing up with me here tonight at 8:00 on a Wednesday. All right. Because this is Bible study time. And that means, like I said, y'all aren't there. You're here with me, but that's okay because you still gonna get this good word. All right. You're still gonna get what God wanted you to get tonight. All right. So, we're going to be talking about manifesting and celibacy. Okay, so, and it's so funny because you wouldn't think, unless you were in this realm, you wouldn't think that those two things go together, and they do. Okay, so I want to get into that. Because for one, I feel like we have a lot of people in the world who have these big aspirations, that have these big dreams, these big ideas, and they're not seeing those things come into fruition, and or they're not happening, if you will say, like at the rate in which you might want to see those things manifest. And it could possibly be because you're exerting energy in other places. Okay, so which is what we're going to get into tonight, because a lot of creating is sexual energy. Most of it, all right, is sexual energy. And so when you have displaced sexual energy, it just looks like things not really coming into manifestation for you, or the things that are coming into manifestation for you are more, I would say, tangible. They're more fleshly things than spiritual things. And anything that you're manifesting per se, like on a business, in a business mindset, in the business world, is a spiritual baby. So there's a difference between a spiritual baby and a physical baby. And so when you are celibate, or if you are focusing your sexual energy, because, I'm not saying that everybody has to take the celibacy road. I chose to take the celibacy road. But I mean, obviously, I put a post up the other day. I asked the women, I asked the ladies if they were, on my train, if they were on the train with me, and it was nah. Okay, so I might just be alone in that. But that just also goes to show my mentality. It also goes to show just the focus. The heavy focus for me in terms of, building a brand, building a business, how serious I am about that. And so, okay, before I get in any further, okay, I know you guys see where it says you can support me by sending stars. If you want to continue to see this kind of content, the podcast in general, definitely send your girl some stars, all right? Because clearly I still need help getting this all set up. I really do have a great vision, or a big vision for the podcast, but, there's no such thing as being shameful for humble beginnings. Okay. And so this is truly just humble beginnings, which is why we're here on Facebook Live. All right. So to support and to continue to see this type of content, send your girl some stars. Send me some likes, send me some hearts, share the live. I feel like, especially with today's word being influence, this is something that's heavy in the atmosphere right now, right? This kind of say stepping into the spotlight or stepping into the light, and I'm saying spotlight and light because they are two totally different things. So people need this kind of information. People need this kind of knowledge. You may have already been feeling this in your gut. You may have already been feeling like this nudge. Maybe, intuition has been speaking to you and maybe you're not listening. This could totally be your confirmation. This could totally be your alignment. Hey, Chris, this could totally be your alignment that you are on the right path, or that, God is saying, hey, nudge you, come on. I'm trying to pull you higher. And like I said, that goes in alignment, or that would be in alignment with today's word, which was influence. We were going to have a guest. His name is Luke Bryant, but Luke had something come up at the last minute. Again, one monkey doesn't stop no show. StreamYard wasn't working for your girl, and Luke had something coming up, and I'm trying to tell you, listen, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. None. Okay? None. And the devil is a lie. So we are still here tonight, and we're going to talk about it. So let's get into it. Okay, let's get into manifesting and celibacy. So I want to first start off with the celibacy journey, okay? Because again, I feel like this is something that maybe people are a little hesitant. They're hesitant to step into this realm, okay? Of, cutting off the flesh, or I say dying to the flesh, because that is totally what this is when you step into abstinence, when you step into denying your sexual desires. It's literally like going through a death. I mean, I'm so serious. Hey, Brandon, it's literally like death. Okay. I first started my celibacy journey 5 years ago. And so this is what, 23, so 3 to 5, that's 2018, 2019. All right. And for me at that time, it was more about healing. Okay, it was more about me figuring out what my strengths and weaknesses were, where my traumas, my triggers, like all of that, knowing that I was the villain. I wasn't always the victim. You feel me? Knowing that I was the villain in my story as well, and learning how to take accountability for that. And a portion of accountability is awareness. Okay. And so if you are not aware, it is hard for you to accept accountability. All right. I was seeing this video go around where the ladies were being challenged to take accountability, right? And they were going over, above it, around it, and everything else. And it's such a true statement, because we sometimes lack the awareness. And it's not that we're not aware of others, it's that we're not aware of ourselves. Hello, Jerry. We're not aware of ourselves. Okay. And so I had to be honest with myself and say, okay, Latara, it's time to see where you play a role in your failures, your wins, everything about your life. Where have you self-sabotaged? Where has it been that you were at fault for these things, and not use something like sex that could distract me, okay? And again, could also enmesh me with someone else's energy, because that's really the biggest thing about it. Is the abstinence or the celibacy aspect is more about purity. So I can really distinguish my energy from someone else's. So I know me, and I know where I end and where someone else begins. But when you are coming together with someone else, right? When you're having sex, and last week Chris said it best, that's literally marriage. That's where two become one, right? So when you're having sex, you're literally taking on the energy of another person. Okay, so you might even start to take on some of that person's characteristics. Okay, you might even start to tap into that person's mindset. all right? And I'm not crazy. I'm just being honest with you guys. I've experienced these things. All right, I know that we think it's strange when we start picking up on people's lingo. We think it's strange when, we start picking up on their mannerisms. Well, there's a reason for that. Is because you are joined now, right? And so a part of that celibacy was, I need to know where I end and someone else begins. I need to know what my energy feels like, and without it being tainted, without it being mixed and mingled with someone else's. And so that means, right, then you have to cut off flesh. That means no sex. So in so many ways I had to, and I'm working on this now. Okay. So, and I'm saying this because I feel like, if anyone else decides to take on this journey, right, like you got to understand some things. We don't want to demonize sex, right? But at the beginning, for me, in order for me to kind of break that attachment to that level, that type of comfort, because believe it or not, that's really like, sex is a coping mechanism for intimacy. It can be. And when and we were talking about this last week, on the podcast with Chris. So, how intimacy can be perverted. So this is how, when we don't know how to communicate, and we don't really know ourselves, the way we think to communicate with someone then becomes more fleshly than emotionally. And then that becomes a soul tie. So instead of me talking to someone, excuse me, I just had red beans and rice. Okay. Instead of me getting to know someone and like really learning them, it'd be quicker, or it'd be easier for me just to, hello, Trevor. It'd be easier for me just to go on a couple of dates and get to know this person. Like, okay, well, we've been dating for whatever long now. Let's get to know each other. Like, no. Okay. So you don't really know that person. All right. And sometimes the reason for us being so quick to jump into bed with somebody, or, sex, or whatever the case may be, is because we also don't know ourselves. Hey, Crystal, we also don't know ourselves. So how can I tell someone about me if I don't really know me? All right. If I don't really find myself interesting enough, hello, D. If I don't really find myself interesting enough to get to know, how can I then turn around and expect someone else to be interested in me and want to get to know me? You understand? So when we lack that awareness, this is that awareness that we're talking about. And we'll go for physical pleasure versus mental stimulation and true intimacy, which is getting to know someone, getting familiar with somebody, asking a lot of questions, asking difficult questions, right? Having healthy dialogue. We kind of run from that, okay? Which is accountability. When you have, hey, Kima, when you can have a conversation with somebody about the difficult things, right? Like what we would call private things, and not be offended by it, and or be triggered by it, or if you're triggered by it, you still sit in the fire with it because it makes you look at yourself. That's intimacy. That is intimacy, right? And so we run from that. All of us. Hey, James, we run from that. It's like, I don't want to tell people who I really am, because I don't really know who I am. And hi, Dr. Chris, and what I do know about myself, you know what I'm saying? I don't want them to know that I'm struggling with this, or I have this addiction. I mean, and this was also prior to me cutting out marijuana. All right. So a lot of y'all have been following me for some time. Y'all know a part of my story is your girl used to be a choo-choo train. Hello, Ken. I used to be a choo-choo train. And these are coping mechanisms, right? It's an opportunity for me to step away from whatever reality I don't want to face. So I'm going to go blow this tree. Okay. Choo, choo, choo. All right. Wake, bake, shake, bake. Hello, Tremaine. Wake, bake, shake, bake. Okay. And one of the privileges I would say that I had at the time, and you can, if you want to call it pretty privilege, you can call it pretty privilege. I'm not ashamed of anything that I've ever been through. I didn't have to buy it. Okay. So the fact that I didn't have to buy it and it was available, it was like, of course, I'm gonna smoke it up. So I don't have to deal with whatever it is I don't want to face, this reality that I don't want to face. And it's the same thing with sex. Right? When we may be going through something, we really don't want to face it. We really don't want to think about it. We just really want someone else to comfort us. Whatever the situation is, we want comfort. And like weed was comfort, food can be comfort, sex can be comfort, pornography can be comfort. Okay? These things can be comforting because they distract you from what it is you really need to deal with. So taking sex off of the table for me was big because I am a physical touch person. And I mean, like, I'm not saying everything has to lead to sex, but if I am with a person that I'm loving, okay? And so just knowing then that if I'm going to take off the sexual aspect, then I'm also going to take off the relationship aspect. Those two things they go hand in hand for me. Hello, Sheen. They go hand in hand for me. So if I take off those two things, then I also have to take off that person. And I got to face me. I got to look at me. I got to be accountable for me. I got to be honest with me, right? And so that was my whole mindset going into celibacy. It was really about purity. Hello, JCL. I think I said that right. That's cool, JCL. It was really about purity and learning myself, right? Learning where I ended and another person began. Because up until that point, I was that person who did not know how to take accountability. And I did a lot of this, right? It's them. Oh, they're just jealous of me. Oh, I mean, they're just, boo. I'm telling you, been there, done that. Right? Not able to see where I was the villain in the picture because I just had to know that it's not me, it's them. It's always them. It's never me. Right? And so that's the start, or that was, hello, Christopher, that was the start of my celibacy journey. That's what made me decide to go into celibacy or abstinence. And I want to be so intentional about the wording because when I learned that celibacy is like none, okay, celibacy really means like, I'm never going to do this again. And that's a lie. Okay, oh my God, okay, I'm such a goof troop. All right. Celibacy means, I'm never going to do this again. Okay, abstinence means I'm not doing it for this time period or until this, right? And so we have to be really clear about the wording that we use. Hey, Raymond, that's my cousin, y'all. He says, been following you from the beginning. I know what you mean. Okay. See, look, people been here for a while. So, yes, like I had to be very clear because for a while I was also, so I wouldn't think about sex or I wouldn't crave sex or so I wouldn't want to, comfort myself in that way. I would say like, I would try to demonize the act. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, we should be having sex. Like, sex is just this bad thing. Like only toxic situations are just sexing it up, but it's like, no, that's not true. God created sex for husband and wife. This is covenant, right? But we abuse it. That is that intimacy that we perverted, right? So it's like we perverted this intimacy and we've turned it into be more of a performative thing than that it was intended to be, right? And so that's how I got started with going into, hi Kendra, that's how I got started with going in. Thank you guys so much for the hearts. I love you guys. Like I love you guys. That's how I got started with abstinence or abstaining. Okay. And I went for a good 3 years and in that journey, right? In that journey alone, I was also heavy into my yoga practice. And so I also started to learn that people were mirrors for me. So this is a message for somebody because oftentimes we look at other people, like I said, we think they're the problem, but really what they're doing is just reflecting back to us who we are. Right? Who we are. And it can be a hard truth. And so, when you do come across those people, you think to yourself, oh, I don't like them. But it's really that you don't like yourself. And that's when I started to realize that there were a lot of things about me that I didn't like. Okay? That I didn't like. And so that's where the awareness just got deeper and deeper. I started to go into this more this full acceptance of myself. Because one thing I'm gonna tell you right now is, we know in relationships, you can love somebody and not like them. Okay, hello, Corey. You can love somebody and not like them. One of the main reasons why relationships really don't work is because people are still hanging on to love and they don't like the person that they're with. All right. And so you have to learn how to like yourself. And I had to learn that. Like, there's things about me I don't like. And once I learned why I didn't like those things, I learned not to just like myself, but fully accept who I was. And in that acceptance is where I really started, excuse my language, effing with myself. You get what I'm saying? Like, I roll with me, y'all. I roll with your girl, okay? And before that, I didn't. I really was even wishy-washy with myself, because if someone else didn't like that about me, then I didn't like that about me. But it's like, no, that's where we suffer with low self-esteem. We're insecure. We try to people please. Now I need to show up how they want me to show up so they'll like me. No, right? So I had to grow out of that. It was truly like this maturing, and I'm 38. So think about that. Age ain't nothing but a number. You got grown people that are still not grown, right? They're not mature. They're not self-aware. They're not able to accept themselves. Therefore, they're not able to accept others, right? And so we see this representation, right? Because what they'll do is they show up. We all do it, right? We show up with this representative, right? And so this representative is who we want people to think we are. But when we go home or when the people leave, then our true self shows up. So you can call that ego. You can call that a mask, whatever you want to call that. It's your representative. And so I was battling before with liking my representative until I understood even why my representative was who she was. And so you got to get clear on that. You got to get clear. You got to do the work, okay? You got to do the work. You got to understand why you are how you are, what childhood trauma you're still dealing with, what acceptance you didn't receive from whoever you thought, you deserved it from. You need to learn how to give it to yourself. You need to learn how to dive into that. And literally taking sex off the table did all of that for me. Like, all of that, because I didn't have anything to escape into. I wasn't smoking, right? So and I'm not having sex. I'm not talking to anybody. So the things that were normal for me, the norm for me, I don't have those things to escape in anymore. And I say that, but I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to go a little bit more vulnerable, be a little more vulnerable. You can also escape into your work. Okay, so I may not have, it's like, when you're replacing one addiction with another. So you might have the person who's addicted to crack, right? And they're healed from that, but they're now an alcoholic. It's like, but all you did was change out one addiction for the next, right? And so we'll see that with somebody who might stop smoking cigarettes, but now they eating everything in the kitchen. Okay. All they did was swap out one addiction for the next, right? And so those are coping mechanisms because we're not ready to face whatever it is looking us dead in the face. It's like, I don't want to see you, although it's still seeing you. It's called negligence, avoidance, ignoring yourself, and also self-rejection. And when you are self-rejecting, then you can only imagine that the people in your life are also rejecting you. So everything that you think you want, you're really rejecting it. You're ignoring it. It's in your face all the while. But because you reject yourself, you already have this rejective energy. That's what you're going to do. You're going to repel people. Okay. You're gonna repel people. This is so true and harder to discern for some. Being addicted to work, leisure activities, etc. is just as problematic. Yes. So thank you for bringing me back, because that's exactly where I started exerting that energy. So I've always actually, okay, be honest. I've always been a workaholic. All right, like that's just in it. That's just in me. That's just it. Okay. I've always been a workaholic in terms of If I'm on a job and I really love the job, I'm going to give it my all. And this is why it's so important to live in your purpose, to do what God has called you to do, because then at that point whether it's burnout or whether it's working too much in your purpose, at least you're still in the will of God, okay? But imagine you taking your gifts and all your talents and all the things that God has instilled in you and being a workaholic for someone else and not building that kingdom for God. Okay, now you're just that, we're going to call it an imposter. Okay, that's where we experience imposter syndrome, all right? But I've always been that person who overworked, if you will. If I love something, I'm going to pour my all into it. And so it's no different from when I worked with somebody or worked for somebody than when I worked for myself, right? But you have to understand how at some point you can make an idol out of those things. It's no different than the other things. Like you can literally make an idol. Hello, Chelsea. You can make an idol out of that thing. And so now that's your God instead of God being your God, right? And so same thing, like I said, with food, with an addiction, with sex, with a romantic relationship, whatever you are, Chris called it lust. So lust is that strong desire. Hello, Blake. So if you have this strong desire for anything more than God, then you're putting that above God. That's the pedestal that you've given it and put it above God. And so work started to become that for me as well. And because I was and I am, you guys, I hope that you guys understand and y'all know that I have a wellness brand, right? So I'm the owner, operator, CEO of Pretty Beast Fitness and Lifestyle, a wellness brand. And so my job or my call in wellness is also to present my body in a way that meets the standard of wellness and well-being. So I'm in the gym 5 days a week, sometimes 7, okay? I'm eating all the most naturalist, healthiest things, organicest things that you could possibly find in the store. It just really became an idol for me, to the point to where God sat me down and humbled your girl quickly. All right, like, yeah, nah. So we can make an idol out of our beauty. Okay, we can make an idol out of our bodies. All right, we can make an idol out of our jobs or out of our family. Okay, anything that you're putting before God, it's an idol. So in the process of this purity, because it wasn't just celibacy, because like I said, it also included marijuana. All right. I've never really been like an alcohol drinker or liquor or whatever, but I did like wine. I haven't had wine in years. I tried kombucha for the first time yesterday, and that does have alcohol. And for a while I was very hesitant to try it because of my purity journey, right? So I wasn't big on alcohol, so that wasn't hard to let go. God was just wanting me to be pure. And in that purity is when you can really assess your thoughts. And this is when we're getting into manifesting. You can really assess your thoughts. You can really assess what's in your heart. Right? You can really see yourself, because hear me out, guys. Yeah, I get it. You want to know your environment. You want to know your surroundings. You want to know the people that's at the table. You want to know, right? But if you don't know yourself, none of that matters. None of it matters, because fact of the matter is everybody is you. You are everyone and everyone is you. I'm gonna rock y'all tonight. Everybody, they're you. Y'all remember the movie The Matrix? They're you. All of them. Every character here is you. It's you. So while you're walking around looking at everybody else and you thinking everybody looking at you and worried about you, it's you. It's you that's self-conscious. It's you that's worried. It's you who's observing everything outside of you, but what's within. It's you. It's you. So you have to know who you are, right? Before it matters about who's sitting at your table, who's who's who and whatever the case may be. Okay, so let's get into how this turns into manifesting. Okay, because as you heard me say, it requires sexual energy. Sexual energy is literally creative energy. So if God has given you a purpose, a will, a destiny, something he's assigned to you, a mission, which I do believe that we all here on earth have a mission. All right. But I ain't gonna lie to y'all and tell y'all that I believe that everybody that's here on earth is human. Because I believe that the humans have purpose. The humans have destiny, okay? The humans have an assignment, have a mission, but not everybody that's here is human, okay? I ain't being funny, but I'm being for real. Not everybody is human, okay? We have a lot of decoys in this land, all right? So when you tap into God, when you tap into Source, your creator, which is what purity helps you do, you start to receive all these downloads. And downloads are literally just creative ideas, right? You start to receive all these epiphanies, right? All these I don't know, I call them downloads. That's the best way I can say it, right? Because we are all a part of a collective consciousness. We are all a part of God's mind, all right? We're all tapped into God's mind, but sometimes our radio station is a little staticky. And it's staticky because we are so enmeshed with other people. We don't know where we end, where they begin, all right? So if we're enmeshed and we don't know where we end, they begin, then our antenna isn't as clear as it's supposed to be. So we heard it, but we didn't hear it, right? And so if you thought you heard it, but you didn't hear it, then you're less likely to work in it. You're less likely to put any action behind it. You're less likely to perform in it, all right, to start to become it. I'm not even going to say perform, to become it, right? Because you're not sure that you heard God correctly. You're not sure that you had that idea. You're not sure until you see somebody else that goes and does that idea and you're like, oh my God, I had that idea. I heard it, all right, but you moved too slow, okay? So being pure was a part of that, because now I only have my brand and this will and this purpose to pour this sexual energy into, this creative energy into, and we call it sex transmutation, right? Or sexual energy transmutation, transcendence, whatever you want to call it, however you want to see it. It's literally taking what makes you horny, okay, what makes you want to create, and creating a spiritual baby instead of a fleshly baby, all right? And so that's going to require pure focus, pure intentionality, all right? So you can only imagine then over the past 5 years, I've not had relationships, right? Because I know what I can pour into and what I can't. And this is where spiritual discipline comes into play, right? Because you need that self-control, and you don't need anything tempting you, all right? So, or you don't need somebody who doesn't understand what your purpose is, your assignment, your mission, all right? And it says in scripture, once you become said husband or wife, you are now subject to that relationship. You're no longer worried about what God wants you to do or doing the will of God. Paul said that. You're no longer God-minded, kingdom-minded. Now you're more concerned with how to please your partner, how to do what they need you to do so they can feel comfortable, so they can be secure, right? And so you got to know when you're in the season of relationship and when you're not. All right. And so, yeah, just that immense focus, that immense intentionality, because you're going to need intentionality in order for you to manifest. Right. So y'all been here for a while. Okay. I'm like, what month are we in? November. So last year in August, God set me down. And we had already had a plan. He told me about the Ground Up book, right? So most of y'all have already know. If you don't, the link is in the bio. I wrote a book And the book is Ground Up Self-Love Workbook. And everything that I went through in the process of, say, manifesting is in that book. How I had to clear my chakras. How I'm constantly balancing them, okay? So this is an everlasting journey that is not a one-time fits all situation. You will constantly and always be needing to balance your chakras because you're constantly stimulated. That you're never not going to be stimulated. In the day that you are, then then rest in peace. But you're constantly going to need to balance your chakras. And so that's how I've been able to do that. I put it in the book. But God sat me down. He gave me the vision in 2020 though. And I was like, okay, I'm going to write a book. I thought the book was going to be about 65 to 70 pages. All right. And when I got to writing the book, God put me in isolation, in total isolation. So much so I was living with my mother and I barely saw her. And we weren't like one side of the house and one side of the house. We were literally a couple of doors down. I barely saw her. I barely ate. I was fasting so much. We're talking about purity, guys. So purity extends further than just sexual encounters. It's about what you're eating, what you're not eating. I would fast sometimes 7, 8, 9 days at a time. And I'm not saying that I did that, like happily. I was going through some things. God was really working it out. And in that time period, what I was dealing with was a lot of limiting beliefs. Because even the idea that the book would only be 70 pages was limiting beliefs. God was like, so this is all you think you have to offer? You have to offer? Have you not been through more, and don't you have more wisdom? This is where the serving comes into play, because God never takes us through anything for ourselves, right? But we can be so selfish and think about embarrassment and shame and how this is going to make us look and how people are going to think about us, and or opinions and judgment. But all the while, God may have taken you through that so he can deliver someone else, to show someone else what was possible, right? And so God was talking to me like, so you think that all your worth is 70 pages, right? It became a worthiness journey at that point. I had to understand what I was worth, okay? And even in worthiness, something that God revealed to me is not about what you have, all right? Because wisdom is far more precious than rubies, all right? So there's this thing called spiritual wealth. And spiritual wealth is said wisdom. When you have all these experiences and you've been through things and you've overcome things and you've built resilience and you've built this tenacity for life, you've not allowed things to get you down. And when you did fall, you got back up. Like, that is spiritual wealth. All right. And so even when we talk about the transfer of wealth coming into play, that is that said spiritual wealth. Hello, Ricky. That is that spiritual wealth that is coming into play, because there is a certain demographic that has experienced this need to be resilient, this need to be tenacious about life, this need to survive, but not just survive, but like, how can we break through the mold? There is this demographic, okay, that has experienced this, and we call us, okay, we call us wise people, okay? And so that wisdom is your spiritual wealth. And if you know anything about, we're talking about celibacy and manifesting. So if you know anything about as within, so without, okay, which is truly manifesting, anything that is within you is already manifesting. When we talk about creating your reality, whatever you're perceiving, whatever you see in your reality, it is because you have created it, right? And even that say thing that you feel like, no, I didn't, there's no way I created that. What I'm saying is that when you become aware, you start to be aware of what environments you allow yourself to encompass and you allow yourself to experience. When you start saying no, hello Enrique, when you start saying no to yourself, you'll also start saying no to people around you. You'll also start saying no to environments. You'll start saying a lot of no, okay? So while I was writing the book, that was my favorite word. It was like a baby. I was a brand new baby all over again. Jesus said, you must become a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. All right. So I was like a brand new baby all over again. My favorite word was no. I don't have time. I don't have energy. I don't have anything more than than the breath that I'm breathing right now, because at that point I've gotten all the way down to maybe between 80 to 90 pounds. I could barely sit without being in pain. I could barely, like, I'm telling you, I could barely think without being in pain. And even in that, there was still a peace that surpassed all understanding. God was still feeding me through daily word, because Christ does say that we should not eat, by bread alone. All right. So, but by every word of this book. Okay. The word of God. Hey, Bria. And so I was still being fed, but God was feeding my spirit. Okay. And so then here we go, 7 months, which would, for some, may have taken years or a whole team of writers to do. We have a whole 340 something page book. And I say we because I didn't do that by myself. That was me and the Holy Spirit. And so that is one of my spiritual babies, right? The book is my spiritual babies. And let me tell you how those spiritual babies come into play in terms of wealth. Okay, this is how we really start to break down wealth. That book will be available even when I'm dead and gone. Will the things that you pour into right now and you think that they're building you this wealth, can you pass it down? When you're dead and gone, will your children be able to eat off of it? Another way for you to understand spiritual wealth is if you are able to be everywhere without being anywhere. I'm going to say that again. Can you be everywhere? Because this is God talk. This is God talk now. Are you able to be everywhere without being anywhere? If you have a book, you can be everywhere and be nowhere all at the same time. That's God. That's how you know you dealing with God. Do you understand? Because God is everywhere all at the same time. He with you, he with me, he pouring into everything, okay? He's everywhere. And in spirit, nowhere, all at the same time, right? That's spiritual wealth, okay? And so God was talking to me like, hey, see, this is how people burn out. They burn out in the body. They labor in the body. They go to work 9 to 5. Okay, we believe the security of the matrix. 9 to 5, I'm busting my butt for Bob, okay, Billy Bob, all right? And then we fall for this false security. At 65, now I can retire when I've literally given my best years to this job. I don't have really much of nothing to leave my children. They're going to have to just figure it out, right? That's not spiritual wealth. And neither is it wealth, all right? And so when you understand kingdom business, all right, when you understand this is kingdom business. Kingdom business is spiritual babies. And in that spiritual baby, you have to practice some level of high intentionality. You have to practice some level of high focus. I know y'all see little posts that be like, a man that can control his desires is a powerful man, and a woman that can control her emotions is a powerful woman, right? That is so true, okay? If you can control your flesh, then you have self-mastery. And if you can master self, then you can master everything outside of you, literally. And it's not about control. We get that confused. I'm spitting. We get that confused. We think control is a matter of what I can put my hands on, who I can, superiority, inferiority. No. That's why today the word was influence. Okay? Because an influencer has more control than even a celebrity. And this is why, because we trust the influencer, because the influencer is honest about their experience. The celebrity is paid for theirs. So who do you trust? Okay? So that's why these companies buy or do brand deals and sponsorships with influencers, because they understand that they have the ability to touch small homes, single mothers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're your average person but their word, their presence holds weight. They have more influence, okay? And that's a natural born leader. And we know leaders to be in control. So that control is really about influence, because you don't want to pressure someone to buy into you. That's not attractive. It's not attractive, and it damn sure isn't appealing, okay? That we don't want to be forced into anything. But if you can feel my vibe, and if you can appreciate my presence, hello, Michael, and you start to trust me as a person, you'll hang on to every word I say. That's control. That's control. And that's why being an influencer is a responsibility. Hello, Thomas. So some people getting into it for the wrong things, for the wrong reasons. They think, oh, I'll be an influencer because I'll get the money. No. It's a responsibility, because everything that you put out there, you will have to pay for it. It's a such thing as karma. Okay, there's a thing called karma, and it never misses. All right. There was a time period, and I'm gonna say this, and I only got a couple more minutes here with y'all. There was a time period where I didn't understand that I had influence. I didn't understand that I had that natural leadership, okay? Because I wasn't taught that that's what that looked like. I was taught that like a leader was like, you know, people who had authority, people who wore badges, people, you know, teachers, things like that. People in politics, things like that. I was taught that those were your leaders, not me, okay? And it wasn't until, Lord God, and if Danita ever sees this, I love you, girl. It wasn't until, and I was working at Memorial Hermann, okay? It wasn't until I was working at Memorial Hermann, and I've been doing Herbalife for years, guys, since 2015, I want to say, okay? And I've been on the beauty products for years, okay? But I tried vitamin E on my body, vitamin E oil on my body, and also on my face. And I recall, just sharing my experience about it. And I was like, yeah, it's doing wonders for my skin, da 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 da. And Danita went home and tried it. And the next couple of days, she showed up and her face would, she started having breakouts. And I felt horrible, because I didn't even think twice about sharing that, let alone that she would go home and do that, and that she might have an adverse reaction to that. There's so much responsibility and influence. I felt so bad. I remember coming to work one day and I gave her a mask, like the mask, the Herbalife Mint mask, which isn't cheap, by the way. I ended up giving her the whole bottle because I felt so bad. Okay? And that's just one. That's really just like a slither of some of the things, I'm being honest, that I've been held accountable for when that energy came back. And I was like, I had to be honest with myself and acknowledge, like, I didn't know that people really looked up to me like that. And you're right, impurities have to come out. But I didn't really understand that people looked up to me that way. I didn't understand that people were listening. I didn't even think that people cared. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why I said, too, today, that some of the people that are on my timeline, I see it all the time. Y'all have this influencer energy and you don't even know it. And I feel like that's kind of dangerous. It's dangerous to not be aware of your influence, because people are watching and they're listening and they're hanging on to every drip and drop of every word that you're saying. You are Bible to them, right? In some cases, you're the only Bible they will ever know. So you have to be very intentional and wise with what you're doing and how you're using your influence. Okay? Kendrick Lamar said, I remember when I was using my influence the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? Abusing it. And that hit home for me because I remember that. I know that, right? I know that reality. I know I've been there, right? Thank you, Michael. And so, yeah, you have to understand what it really means to be an influencer, and not only what it really means to be an influencer, but also just how you're manifesting, what you're manifesting into the world, into this reality, the 3D world, right? The matrix, if you will. And if you really want to build kingdom wealth, because if you really want to build kingdom wealth, if you're listening to the Holy Spirit will drive you into isolation. All right. We're talking Jesus, isolation. Okay. Children of Israel, isolation, wilderness. Okay. The Holy Spirit will, hi Sandra, the Holy Spirit will drive you into isolation. And a part of that is purifying. Esther, before she got with Xerxes or Ahasuerus, however you want to say that, she had to go through a purifying moment, like a 12-month period of purification. Right? There's this purifying. You have to go through this pruning, if you will. And in that season, God is going to take all the things that are idols to you, whatever it is. Okay? God is going to take that. For me, that was relationships. Okay? And once I no longer had that as a focus, then I had to start going through the checkoff list of all the other things that had started to become as a substitution idol, and God just started knocking them off the list. And from that, I was able to produce a book. I was able to produce my brand the way that it is today. I've never been so pleased with my brand as it is today. In 2015, 2016, God told me to start a blog. I tried, I did. 2013, 2014, God told me to start a blog. I tried, I did. I just constantly starting, stop. Because of worthiness. And I'm going to say this and then I got to go. So, hello, Chanel. That all comes full circle when it's time for you to be in a relationship. Because once you start to understand what you can produce on your own, once you start to understand your true worthiness, can't nobody little girl you, little boy you, and can't nobody for damn show breadcrumb you, because you're not going to accept it. You know that you are worth more. You know that you are worth more. When people settle for the bare minimum and it's just whatever somebody is willing, I can tell you is because they don't know themselves. They don't know what they bring to the table. You know? They're just happy that you invited them to yours. They're like, shoot, as long as you invited me, hey, Kim, as long as you invited me, I'm going to show up. No, I have something to offer. And not only do I have something, I have receipts for it. I got receipts. Okay. You're not going to little girl me. You're not going to breadcrumb me. You're not going to feed me the scraps. And if you feel like you are, then you're not the one for me. And when you do practice that level of, I say, abstinence, right? You understand that what's a necessity versus a want. Do I need that or did I just want that? Right? And then you also understand too, like not everybody is worthy to put their hands on you. Okay? Because really that's the truth. Sometimes we're so desperate for comfort. We're so desperate for love, or we're so desperate for somebody to escape into. It's easier for us to tend to someone else's business or to be someone else's comfort or to lend our energy to someone else's situation than to, y'all, them beans. It's beans. It's a little gas, but it's beans. Okay. Thanks for the stars, Blake. My girl. Okay. So yeah, you're not going to allow just anybody to give you anything, and you'll be more conscious of who you even allow to grace your presence, because you understand that you truly are, I'm the bag. It's me, boo-boo. I'm the bag. Okay. So like I said earlier, I struggled with self-esteem, all that other stuff, because I didn't know what I brought to the table. I didn't know how to have a conversation with somebody, hello, Robert, and be able to talk about who I was or who I am. Not just what I've been through, because that gets old. The trauma, all that gets old. But what I like, what I don't like, where I want to go, what my dreams and aspirations are. Being vulnerable. right? And not just settling for shallow, surface level connections. People that just want to touch my body. You understand? Demons. Because that's really what they are. They're demons. They're demons. Okay. And I would say this, okay? If you are coming into this realization that you want to go into, say, abstinence and not celibacy, because remember, there are two different things. Celibacy is nunning. Okay, that means you're going straight nun. That means you're saying, I am never going to have sex again. And if you can say that, then, oh man, hats off to you. I'm not subscribing to that. I am abstinent, okay? Abstinent means for this period of time, I'm not going to do that, right? Or up until then, I'm not going to do that, okay? But if you abstinence, okay, be clear, because words are powerful, all right? If you are coming into that realization, I encourage you to start with fasting. I feel you. I understand. I encourage you to start with fasting. And also, I would tell you to look into like salt baths, okay? Salt baths. So you can start to purify your energy. We know salt is a purifier. So you want to, submerge yourself, hair included, okay, in salt baths. So you can start to purify your aura. And you'll also notice when you do this, if you do this intentionally, the things that start coming up for you while you are in that salt bath, because it's releasing from your energy. Okay, it's releasing from your vortex, if you will, right? Like your light body, all right? So salt baths and a fast, all right? Because that's truly how I use the is it Dr. Teal's? Dr. Teal's? I want to say it's Dr. Teal's. Hold on, I'm gonna go get the bag. Dr. Teal's. Okay. It's just Epsom salt. Okay. And you can get any like scent or whatever. You can see that one's eucalyptus and spearmint or whatever, but you want the salt bath. Okay. And when you go into the salt bath, you definitely want to set an intention for what you're doing, because again, salt is a purifier. And if you set the intention to, release yourself from any negative energies and calling all your energy back to you, like I am cutting any cords that may be attached. And I want to say this because you need to understand why you're doing the salt bath. When we talk about cord cutting, hello, Kenneth, it's so vague, okay? When cords attach, right? Think about an umbilical cord. When a cord attaches to you, one way that it happens is through your sexual encounters, right? Because that is through your sacral chakra, which is your reproductive organ. So the moment that you come into union with someone, okay, you are creating a cord, which is why it's so important for us to be very intentional about the people that we do have sex with, because you're creating a cord, okay? But what that cord does is it starts to feed off of your solar plexus, which sits atop of your sacral chakra. And your solar plexus is where your light is. So when we talk about the light body, that is your Christ. Your solar plexus is your Christ. So when it's feeding or connecting to your light, you will find that you kind of dim your light. You'll say yes when you want to say no. You don't speak up for yourself. These two chakras are very much in alignment. They're both masculine energies. So you're more repressed, more oppressed in your Christ energy, your light energy. Okay, and that's because there's a cord attached to it and it's sucking you dry. All right, it's sucking you dry. And you'll notice, hello, Marquise, you'll notice too that maybe those people that may be attached to you, they take on your personality. They're doing the things you would do. That's how you know who they are. Okay, that's how you know the imposters. Okay, they're doing you. They're trying to do you better than you do you, might I add. All right, so they're sucking you dry. So when you do the cord cutting, when you do salt baths, that is what you're doing. You're literally, I call all my energy back to me. I'm severing any attachments, any cords, and I call all my energy back to me, healed and whole. WHOLE, whole. All right. So in that intention setting, what's yours returns, what's not yours leaves. And that's why I said then you have to be mindful, because you'll start to get these, say, just, thoughts that start to rise for you, but they were never yours. And so that's really just your body releasing what is not yours. You might even have a purge, as in like you might cry a little bit, okay? Just to think whatever it was that was attached to you, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the idea is, whatever the concept is that comes to mind, it might hurt your feelings because it's not yours. And it could quite possibly be pretty negative, all right? And so you might purge, you might cry a little bit. And so this is how you know that the salt is doing what the salt is supposed to do. And like I said, the other part of that is that you want to fast. And the fast is going to be the top tier cord cutting of all cord cuttings. All right. Because what is also in your solar plexus chakra area or region is the gut. All right. Your gut. And so when you cleanse the gut, you also cleanse your second brain. We say, your instincts, your gut feelings, so on and so forth. So you're cleansing the gut when you do the fast, and then you'll really be able to hear God more clearly. You'll really start to receive messages. You'll really start tapping into your light. All right. And that's when you're just, like, use something to deal with. You working with something then, okay? So I hope that helped. I hope that also shed light on just, abstinence and manifesting, how those two things are truly, truly, truly connected. And a lot of people don't know that. You can still manifest while you're having sex, then no problem. Yeah. But is it going to be to its fullest potential? Probably not. And it's probably going to take a lot longer than what it could have taken if you would have just been a little bit more intentional with your sexual energy and poured it straight into whatever it is you're trying to create. If you realize in dispersing that sexual energy, it's everywhere. Everybody has a little piece of you. Hello, David. So if everybody has a little piece of you, then while you're calling your energy back to you, you're kind of being counterintuitive. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? You're not in full alignment with yourself, even at that point. You're going against the very thing that you're trying to do. So I would definitely recommend salt baths, and also to fast. And in your fasting, do your prayer. And I would say for my women, the prayer would be for Esther 4:14, such a time as this. Okay. Yeah, read the whole book. But if we're just going to narrow it down to one specific verse, it's Esther 4:14. All right. So that's what I have for you guys tonight. I hope it was helpful. I'm sad that Luke couldn't join us tonight for a celibacy and manifesting, but it's okay, because God's will is always God's will, and it doesn't matter. One monkey doesn't stop no show. It still goes on, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, okay, there's freedom. All right. So we are free to do what we were called to do regardless. Okay. Regardless. So, yeah, you're so welcome. I'm just so happy that you were here. I'm happy that you were here, girl. I love you always. If y'all have any questions about, more about that, definitely shoot your girl, not a message. Don't DM me. If it's not business, don't DM me, but you can like post it in the comments and I'll respond. You can also purchase my book. The link is in my bio. It is also in this live. Okay, you can purchase it from my website, or you can go to Amazon.com and get the book, either or. Okay, the book it's a workbook. Okay, so you got to come prepared. All right, you got to know that it's a workbook. It won't work unless you work it. Okay, so you can get the workbook. Link in my bio. And yeah, I will see you guys next Wednesday for Let's Undress. Now, I'm not sure what the topic will be. We'll decide that then. But we may have a guest. And yeah, so I'll see you guys then. Mwah. Till next time, and don't forget to subscribe. Ciao.